Awesome. Hold on. Everybody gets a song, so here
Go
you
for
go.
it. I'm now excited. Yeah.
What do you know? It's Solomon Georgio. Solomon Georgio's on the show. As far as intros go, this one is the best. Everybody gets a song. Solomon Georgio, welcome to the show. Do you regret agreeing to this already?
Not at all. No one's ever written a song about me, and I think that is in itself a crime against humanity.
Yeah. Oh my
Take
gosh.
this long.
Because your name is already so poetic.
And here I am, just waiting for a song, and you finally delivered it. So we're fine. We're this is the best situation I've ever been in.
Well, Floridians, thanks for tuning in. My guest today is the one and only Solomon Georgio, the best name in comedy. The only thing that's better is his writing. You've seen him on television, and if you're familiar with the show Shrill and High Fidelity, you are familiar with his writing. Solomon Georgio, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
You know, it's a Sunday morning. I haven't done anything for months, and I'm feeling great about it.
Now, we like to do the plugs up top, and I absolutely love the comedy special that you have out streaming. It's on Apple Music. It's so good. Well,
yes.
it's if I mispronounce it, I'll get canceled. So
I'll say it if you want me to.
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Homo negro superior.
There you go. Oh, so
Yes.
good. So
Thank
good.
you.
Would you like to plug anything else for our listeners to go to right now?
That is really, I've just been a very quiet boy the last few years. So yeah, if you want to Google and YouTube, I have plenty of stuff out there. Some stuff I regret. So watch that stuff. The older, the better, because then you get to see who I really am.
Ooh, I love that. So that's interesting. So the older the better.
I'm lying. Don't do that at all.
No, I know. When I moved to LA in 2011, I had a friend that I moved with. He created a video blog of every single day from our move from Florida out here.
Uh-huh.
And thankfully those videos aren't readily available anymore.
Oh yeah. There's a couple of videos that I wish I've sent letters, but like two of them are like people, like companies that no longer exist or are not gonna take them. So I've like specifically like I've been reporting on my own videos.
Flag. So, oh my gosh, dude, that special is so funny. I really love it.
Thank you.
I just love, like, first off, the structure of it, because you're like, hey, I've got this Italian name. I'm from here. I'm from all over. And you really hit all corners of like who you are in comedy. It's a great introduction to who you are.
Thank you.
And you talk about like old videos or old content or whatever you want to call it. Was there someone as you were getting into the comedy scene, like a mentor or like somebody that you like ran your jokes by? Not necessarily a mentor, but someone you're like checking in with, like, hey, what do you think of this?
Older wise, not particularly. Like I was just a fan of comedy. So for me, most of my inspiration was going to see the older comics perform. I couldn't really pick their brains on my own material. I also didn't really like that very much.
Yeah.
So it's for me, like if I see somebody get a better reaction than me, then I'm like more inspired to be honing my own bit.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay.
Like, yeah. Jordan style, just like, that guy got more laughs than me. I took it personally. So
I got to figure out what I'm doing. And I think like jokes, like that's stuff I think I did with the people that I started with. And that's what I continue to do. Like, I don't really like hey, you're my inspiration. Tell me exactly what you think of this. I'm like, for me, it's more like I want to see you perform all your jokes instead.
Yeah. Oh, that's smart. That's good. You strike me as a person that is very intention oriented. Like, I'm at work. I'm here to work. I'm at the park to drink wine. Drink the wine.
Yes.
I'm. Like, is that correct? And do you think that comes from, growing up in Seattle, Northwest?
I think it comes from having African parents. Is like you have to do everything like immigrant parents. I think, but like you have to do everything intentionally because it sort of sets the rule of who you are.
Yeah.
So do you want people to assume this of you? Then that's not how you should act. And I was like, fuck, okay, I guess I'll focus and overthink every single move in my life.
Yeah. Jeez. Yeah. To some people, that seems counterintuitive for a comedian. But it only helps, right? Like it's more of a trait of
Well,
like experience, isn't it?
it's true. I think you can come to comedy in a bunch of different angles, but I think like overthinking things and underthinking things that's like the greatest two forms of comedy can come from that. Because there's comedy that can happen in the moment, there's comedy that can be thought out and brought later.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really, and I also like, I think comedy just sort of like that's sort of where I came from, but comedy's also kind of helped me become less of that as well. It's like, oh,
Oh,
you can react in the moment. Oh, you can enjoy this thing right here.
yeah. It's helped you kind of like ease up a little bit.
Oh yeah, I had so much social anxiety before comedy, and now I'm like, oh yeah, I can talk to hundreds of people and have no problem or shame, which used to not be the case. I was shitting bricks left and right.
Oh man, yeah, I bet. Well, did you get to perform a lot in the Seattle scene, like coming up?
Yeah, well, like the Seattle scene was like especially when I first started, because I started in like 2007, and it was like sort of like the birth of the alt scene in
Yeah.
Seattle. So like there was a few comedy clubs that we got to go to open mics at, but we also set up open mics in every possible venue. We had comedy shows in every possible venue. So like it was definitely beneficial because I was able to go up 3 times a night, like some nights, and that's when you're a beginning comic, that's like that's supreme amount of time.
Yeah.
In a city with no comedy industry, it's perfect.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, and that's the best you could do in any city, really. Three stages
Yeah.
is amazing.
And the one benefit is that Seattle audiences, they're snobs, so
Oh,
they
nice.
definitely they definitely make you earn every laugh.
Ooh,
So
like there's nothing like having somebody sitting in the front row with their arms crossed, and then you're like trying to look past that person, and then you realize everybody has their arms crossed in the
yes.
in the whole place. Is it more? Yeah. Would you say the temperature of the scene was like? Did you find like a lot of the same type of comic there? Like, what was it like?
It was an array. It was kind of nice because since it's such a middle sort of level city, you get the road dogs that because
Yeah.
there's like Seattle is in a sea of woods,
Yeah.
and so it's like, and that's the things like when people like usually go, oh, the South is where the rednecks are. I'm like, baby, the rednecks are everywhere.
You got the rednecks up there too, man.
Yeah, they just live in low population areas. You can find them.
And they just happen to be Salman Giorgio fans.
Oh, very few, very few. But yeah, but that's the thing. You get the road dogs and you get the headliners coming in as well. And especially like when I was starting, a lot of the people that are now big names were middling.
Yeah.
So I would get people like a Pete Holmes or Kumail or Hannibal and Tig.
Yeah.
They weren't at their level yet, so I got the benefit of seeing them as much as I wanted to at like low cost shows.
Yeah. So then in like '07, when or the time you're describing '07 to like '10 or 2010, when the alt scene was kind of getting more attention, those comics that you just mentioned were traveling through Seattle because people wanted to see that in Seattle.
Oh yeah, but also that's also what you like. That's what you do when you're like a few years in. You're like, I want to go to this other city and see what I can do there. And it's like you're gonna not make any money, but it's gonna be worth it.
But yeah, you'll get to see what the town's like, and that's that's why I'm doing this podcast. I want to see more
Yeah.
what Seattle's like.
Good.
Before we get into Seattle specifics, we talked about you being so intentionally driven. If you're writing on a show like High Fidelity, and you're writing for like a Zoe Kravitz, are you her dad is obviously Lenny Kravitz, so are you trying to sneak in like some American Woman references, some Lenny Kravitz jokes, or was there or were they very strict on set? They're like, we can't do that.
Well, I'm not even on set. I'm in a writer's room, so I don't even get to. And Zoe Kravitz was in the writer's room with us, so I'm not going to crack any jokes about her dad in front of her.
No, not going to walk in with a giant blanket as a scarf, or
But yeah, it's sort of it's the kind of jokes I tell. It's kind of like, yeah, I don't really. I'm not. It's like I'm too afraid.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
just walk in.
And
That's
what a
when you speak in intentions. Those are the kind of intentions that I'm like, read the room. Don't tell me.
yeah. Also, what a presence she has. She must have in the writers' room. To have like
Oh,
the lead right there. You know.
oh yeah. It's she wrote one of the episodes, and
Wow.
it's one of those things because I'm almost 40, so like to have somebody that looks just like Lisa Bonet talk to you and you're like, you're the child of one of the greatest actresses from my childhood as far as I'm concerned, and you're
Yeah.
just as amazing as she is, which is also another surprise as well. Like it's a very talented bloodline that's very can be annoying sometimes because I don't really like talent that much. No,
You don't
she's
like
no, I'm
talent.
kidding. It's talent's just annoying, like just oozing out of every pore. Like it's really, you got to calm down, and just to be gorgeous and talented, that's kind of, it's disgusting.
Hate him. Hate him. Damn it. Well, I mean, I think you fall into that category as well, because I think of comedians, you've got to have the best skin out there.
Well, first of all, you're looking at a filter, so I appreciate that. I'll take whatever compliments I can get. I look better than most 40-year-old comedians, but that is a very low bar to set.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess the bar is also very low in that
Yeah.
regard. But all right. Well, so thanks again for coming on. And so you spent 16 years growing up in Seattle, and you talked about a little bit about the comedy scene. What was the initial spark for you, and what was like the first show that you kind of like stumbled into?
Oh, the first show. Well, I went to an open mic when I was 17. I bombed so hard I didn't do it again until I was 25.
Really, most people have that like
Oh yeah.
beginner's luck energy, but you just didn't.
No. I got booed pretty hard.
Oh.
I deserved it. I was a 17-year-old talking to a microphone. Honestly, more of us deserve to be booed at 17.
If only every 17-year-old that has any sort of entitlement could be booed, then
Honestly, the greatest form of humility check that you need is just a grown adult booing you from their heart.
oh
Like,
oh
and meaning it. And I when I was 25, it was actually fully unintentional. I didn't expect that I'd ever get into stand up. It's always been an aspiration, but I was like, I'm definitely not funny enough. Me and my friend made this bartender laugh at the bar that we went to regularly, and then she was like, "You guys should do a comedy show here." And I obviously, since it's been my dream, I was like, "I will do that. That's the
yeah.
thing that I should do." And so me and him were like, "Okay, we're putting this set together. We're gonna do like a 45-minute thing and get all of our friends to come watch it." He backed out because he has stage fright, and
No.
I continued, and I did it. I did 45 minutes for my first set back to most of my
Wow.
friends, and then from there, I just started going to the open mics.
Dude, that's amazing. That's
I didn't say it was a good set. I just talked for 45 minutes, and I got a few of my friends to laugh.
yeah, but that's still fun to have that opportunity there, like man, nobody gets 45 minutes their first time. I wonder, would you remember what you were even
You
talking
shouldn't.
about?
I honestly, oh God,
The pacing must have been just like,
Oh, I had my whole set was on my laptop that went out about 10 minutes into my set. So it was mostly just cobbling what I remembered together, and my friends, it was just sort of holding court over my friends, which I've done many times. So
Sure.
it wasn't that insanely difficult, but it was definitely not what I would, if I did that in front of anyone else but my group of friends, they would be very, very annoying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, other than the comedians that you were around, one segment that I like to do here, it's called Celebs in Town. And basically, I'm curious to know if there were any like very high profile people or like people that everybody knew in Seattle growing up and what those people were like. Is there anybody like that comes to mind?
There's a few people, but I think the number one, there's a insurance commercial. There's an insurance company called Vern Fonk, and in the commercial itself, it says honk when you drive by Vern Fonk, and it's this bald dude, and everyone thinks he's Vern Fonk. It's just an actor hired. I think he was actually a salesperson at Vern Fonk, and then he just became immediately known as Vern Fonk. And every time I saw him, which was like I think like a handful of times, I honked. So I could only imagine
When
the
you saw him in real
rest.
life,
Of course, like it's and it was
what?
like I the one time I drove by him, I'd honked, and then literally 10 other cars honked around him, and I'm like, "That's your life, buddy," and that must be tough.
Oh no, and he's not even Vern Funk.
Not at all.
Honk. So, and he's not even the funk guy, you know, like there's the mattress king, or like growing up we had the Stevie Tomatoes guy, and
Yeah.
you like, and Stevie Tomatoes was like the sports bar, and he would always do these like gravelly voiced radio spots, and then he'd be on TV, he's like Stevie Tomatoes, you know, and you're like, that's the Stevie Tomatoes guy. But this guy, everybody thinks he's Vern Funk. It couldn't have been worse for him.
Oh no, and I'll even show you. Here's the thing. I know they can't see the photo, but I need you to see the photo so you can understand that this guy he looks like, if somebody's like, this guy's an actor, you'd be like, no, that is Vern Funk, because that is the only person that could be. Why would he hire somebody that looked just like that?
And so the Vern Funk guy, I gotta pull this.
Oh my
up.
God, it's pretty impressive. Like,
so the commercial would be every time you see this guy honk at Vern Funk, or
well, that's the thing. Like, it's just like all these dumb sketches of him going through weird circumstances. Like, it can be him being pulled over, or him like getting like a terrible claim from another company, and then it's just, and he would show up.
He's just kind of like a normal guy. He kind of looks like
just a guy.
He's so, man, he cool dude. I'm sure he was the only person in the office, like you're saying, that was willing to be on TV, or like the last person to say no. But he kind of looks like bald Michael Shannon, but like shrunk down a little bit.
And he's just like plain looking guy, very average looking. At least my entire, like more than half, like I feel like all the 90s he was the Vern Funk guy.
And Vern Funk is insurance?
Yes. That I've never even attempted to even get at all.
Insurance, who needs it, man?
It only inspired me just to honk at this guy.
That's so amazing. We so you saw him on the street, like would people have like accounts of him like hanging out and around?
Oh yeah, every time any one of my friends saw the Vern Funk guy, they'd be like, "Hey, I saw the Vern Funk guy and I honked at him." And I'm like, "That's exactly what you should do."
It's like, yeah, perfect. That's what the ad said.
We were so joyful to do it. It was so like you look forward. If it happened to you, it was like it's like winning the lottery. You got a chance to honk at the Vern Funk guy.
Today's gonna be a good day. Yeah, I found $5 in my pocket, and I got to honk at Vern Funk. What the heck? That's so great. We had when I was living in Orlando, and I want to ask you about this because you've been to Orlando.
Yes.
Because you're a big Harry Potter fan. But we had a guy like this, but he was the guy, and it's Morgan and Morgan. I'm starting to see more commercials out in Los Angeles for him. But the Morgan Morgan guy, he was an attorney, kind of like bigger than life type of like jolly type of a person, but he would go out and he would be he is Morgan of Morgan Morgan, not just some guy. But when you saw him out, it was always in a bar, and he was always buying rounds for everybody. And weirdly enough, he's like got, as a law attorney, he's gotten like 3 DUIs, can't drive anywhere. which is so Floridian. And also I imagine the exact opposite of the Vern Funk guy, because the Morgan and Morgan guy, he would go out and like he'd be wearing makeup. Like, he's not on camera. He didn't just shoot a promo. He's like wearing male makeup just because he assumes people are going to want to take pictures with him.
See, so he's just, he's camera ready. That is,
no,
the Vern Funk pitch guy, I think, really didn't like us doing that to him, because I don't remember any look of joy on his face whenever he was honked.
You gotta, at that point you gotta give him like a crown or a cape or some kind of costume or something. This poor guy. I brought up Orlando, and you've been to Orlando.
Yes.
What was your experience in Florida in general?
I don't think I did that much to make a solid. Like, I think I've been to Tallahassee, and Tallahassee for sure I can say
Okay.
nothing but nice things about.
Oh, okay. The
I'm
capital,
kidding.
yeah. Were
I'm
you
kidding.
there?
I
Yeah.
commit. It was the worst situation. It's the only time I ever tried to step away from a bug, and I only walked into more bugs.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I didn't know wearing shoes at Walmart was fancy, but
That's the state capital, baby. Oh man. Tallahassee, what a trip, what a trip. But you eventually
because I
you
feel
went,
like
yeah, go ahead.
well, I feel like with the other cities, like with Orlando, I was near Universal Studios, so I don't really think that was like I was in Orlando proper. I was right next to I was right outside in whatever part of. So I can't judge Orlando yet for its full potential, but I can judge Tallahassee very harshly.
Yeah, Tallahassee's one of those places that if the if the capital wasn't there, it would just kind of be like run by alligators, I think.
Yeah, it should
Like,
be. I think it should
and
have been.
bugs.
Yeah, I think it's what it's trying to do, and Tallahassee's trying to fight it back. And I let nature take over the part that it needs to take over. The
Nature's
swamp needs to be the swamp.
nature's really fighting back over in
Oh
Tallahassee.
yes.
Oh man. What's before we get into this next part here, are there so in Florida, one of the things that you hate about it is how muggy it is and how many like mosquitoes and weird animals there are, like burrowing owls. Like I
Yeah.
grew up when you think of an owl, you're like, oh, it's in the tree, it's licking Tootsie Pops and giving advice, not across the street from you burrowing into a hole, and literally burrowing owls, and scary as hell when you're growing up around them. And
That's just hilarious to me. Owls that just want to get away.
yeah,
Like,
the owls that are maybe depressed, I guess.
the saddest owls. You're like, I don't know. I was just too dumb to fly, but don't even know.
Yeah, and an owl that saw one picture of an ostrich sticking its head in the ground was like, yeah, that's how I feel.
Sad owls.
I mean, yeah, sad owls. The sad owls, mosquitoes, how muggy and humid it is. People so often talk about like rain in Seattle. Are there, is that like a real thing, or is it like, who cares? Just wear your Patagonia,
It is this, like, it's just gray for longer, but like on average, whenever like the torrential rain that people think of, that's worse here and worse in Florida.
Yeah.
Like it pours down in LA, in Seattle, and it rains quite often, but it's not like I can manage my life. I can live through this. I don't need I don't like, a lot of Seattle's pride themselves on not carrying an umbrella, and you can function without one.
Really?
Yeah, it's not that hard. Like if you can have a hoodie and be perfectly fine. It's
Is
a
that
city
one
with,
way to, yeah. Is a city with what?
yeah, a city with enough overhead coverage that if it does start downpouring, you're like, okay, and it doesn't last that long, so you can still it's never too much, and it's never more than any other city. And when it clears up, it's serene. It's not like the summer is not humid. Like
Yeah.
the most perfect summer. Like it
Oh.
hits about between 70 and 80, and it's that way for a few months, and it's lush and green, and you're not sweating through layers of clothing.
Oof. Is that a good way to tell a tourist from a Seattle resident, like someone that's carrying an umbrella?
Yeah, well, no, they should carry an umbrella because
Okay.
they're not prepared. But I think the best way to explain things between like Florida and Washington, Florida I would consider swamplands. Washington I would consider wetlands. Like there's a difference between swamp and wet. It's your ass.
Yeah. That's almost like the way you
Like-
said that makes me think of like the difference between an apartment and a condominium.
Yes.
Oh, well, we have wetlands here. Like, oh shit. All right. Fuck,
And when
man.
you go up there and you feel the weather, you're like, oh yeah, this is like I'm getting wet, but I'm not getting swamped.
Man, it sounds beautiful. It sounds beautiful. You went to Harry Potter Land, or whatever they call it in Orlando. Did you love it overall?
I enjoyed myself at the time, but now I can't really enjoy anything Harry Potter because J.K. Rowling went out and ruined it for all of us.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That's right. Yeah, she's a turf, right?
Oh yeah, and it's not surprising
Sure.
that that kind of behavior can come, but at the same time, like, all right, moving on and to liking other things because I'm actually an adult and I should do that.
Maybe I'll read a different book.
I
Uh,
did, I did.
hey,
They're they're good. Other books,
I
I
can't
found out.
wait. Yeah, I can't wait for Chuck Palahniuk land or another author.
Well, my favorite author is actually from Florida, and it's he writes about Florida exclusively, and that's
Who's that?
Carl Hyacin. He writes like he wrote Striptease, and a bunch of other books that I love, and he's also I think also like wrote a bunch for the Miami Herald
Yeah,
as well.
amazing.
Uh, but he's like he like it's like all this like he just takes stuff that based on real stuff in Florida and just sort of like incorporates these like outlandish characters into all of his books.
Oh my God,
And
amazing.
hands down, I love all of his books.
Big
And
Hemingway.
there's a lot of them.
Oh really? Oh man, he's
Yeah,
churning it out.
he's been writing since like the late 80s, and I think does like a book every 2 years.
Amazing. Yeah. There's like a great, I mean, Kerouac spent a lot of time in Florida, Hemingway as well. And there's a great, there are great tours of all of the places that they've been around Florida. Hemingway spent a lot of time in the Keys, as I remember it. And one of the things to do down there is go on like a Hemingway tour, drink all the rum you can, have some Cuban food, and then some key lime pie. And that's what we're eating down in like the Miami, like South Florida area. Another thing that I like to ask is like, what you eating? So there's another segment, what you eating? So like when I picture Seattle, I'm thinking of the opening scene of, or the opening titles of Real World.
Yeah, where they throw the fish. Yeah.
Yeah, what's in the fish market? So are people eating like just tons and tons of fish up there? Like what's the food?
Yeah, you can eat as much fish as you want. It's actually the like I prefer to eat like when it comes to sushi. I definitely Seattle is my number one. I've never had better sushi in any other city.
Really?
But that's you're also in like the literally like the main line from where all the fresh fish are coming from. It's
Yeah.
like the sushi grade fish is readily available and not insanely expensive because it doesn't have to travel very far. Because
That's
Seattle is a
incredible,
port
yeah.
city.
Yeah, yeah,
Seattle's a
yeah.
port city with so it's like there's multiple piers. There's lots of fish boats coming in, so you're getting really great quality seafood. But for me, like my number ones when I was in Seattle was two places. There's
Okay.
a place called Dick's Burger, which I think is one of the best burgers I've ever had in my life because it's just a grease ball of a
Yeah.
burger. And you get to say, "I'm gonna go get a bag of dicks," which everyone thoroughly enjoyed.
Everybody,
I
yeah,
like
loves it.
the joke wears off after the first year, but once you tell somebody, it comes back to life again. So I've had to I've had to deal with the Dick's joke a lot, but like it's one of those burgers that is like the perfect amount of greasy, so you can
Okay.
still enjoy it when you're sober, but you definitely love it more when you're drunk.
Oh
Like
yeah,
it
and
is.
is it open late?
Oh, it's open
That's
till like 2:30 a.m. and I've twice have fallen asleep halfway eating one because that's just
Oh my God, yeah, that's I mean, that's all you want when you're drunk and it's like
Mhm.
2 a.m. That's amazing. And yeah, and Dick's, how has it been there for a long time?
Oh, it's been there for yeah. I don't know exactly when, but it's been there for a while. And also another thing is that there was a big enough Vietnamese population in Seattle in the '90s, so I was eating banh mi and pho in the late '90s because
Whoa.
they were out and about. Like and that was the first. So like me and my friends were getting Vietnamese food, and it was like dirt cheap. Like you could get like a banh mi sandwich for like $2,
Yeah.
and pho
Whoa.
like less than like between $4 and $5, and it's like still was amazing back then too. So yeah, it was, and I still those are two specific things when I go to Seattle are what I always get.
Yeah.
Is I go to the same pho place I went to since like 1997.
Wow. Like legit before it was cool, Vietnamese food. Like my best experience with Vietnamese food was up in San Francisco. I did Sketchfest and like there's a pretty heavy like Vietnamese
Oh, there
population
is.
there too, right? Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I typed in, I don't know why I was in the mood for a banh mi sandwich, but I did, and like my phone exploded, you know.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and Oh man, that's so cool to kind of like be growing up around
Oh yeah,
those types of foods, you know?
especially like when you're like a poor teenager and all you have is $2 and your friends want to hang out and you're like, let's go get banh mi. That's literally $2 and I'm not gonna rip through a whole and it's a fucking perfect sandwich.
Oh, I'm trying to think of the equivalent in my hometown. And you got to understand, 2:30 in the morning in Florida is really like the equivalent of Seattle. 2:30 in the morning is like 9:30 p.m. in Florida. You know, and that's when everything's really closing down. And so, man, we had this. Uh, we got real excited at this place. It's called Il Primo, and they had like just it was just all greasy food. It was just the greasiest food. And we're, you know, you're a teen, like you're the way you're talking about, like, yeah, when you're a teen, you're just like, oh, you know, calories mean nothing, you know, none of this means anything. This is a cool place to hang. It was right near the high school. Oh my God, fantastic. That's amazing. And like, what kind of burger was like Dick's Burger? Was it like one of those like thin burgers, or was like
it's a thin patties, but it had like their special sauce, which is it's almost like it's definitely like a tartar mixed sauce, but you can't fully identify what it is. You can't say Thousand Island because it doesn't taste exactly like Thousand Island.
Right.
So it's so good. And the Dick's Deluxe is I would get two of those, which are double patty.
Oh yeah.
And I would also get their fries because they're also like they're those kind of like hand cut, slightly wiggly but still crispy too.
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I can't. And a milkshake, and I get it every time. And I think when my best friend that lives up there that I visit every time I'm there, she like also like I think she doesn't always go until I come around. So
yeah.
there is a little joy of like, hey Solomon, where do you want to go before you leave? Is there anything you specifically want to go to eat?
She's leading you. She's got the coordinates to Dick's in her. Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I have two places like this, but Sal's Pizza near my place. It's just, you know, a guy named Sal started this place. Then it's been passed on to 12. I'm not kidding, 12 different owners, and they've renamed it like they've named it Sal's. It's been Sal's, then Sal Pizza. So they took the S off. Then it was Sal's without the apostrophe S. Then it was AAA Sal's. So it would be the first. This is Florida in like 2015. AAA Sal's, so it would be the first pizza place to show up in the phone book.
That's clever.
Ugh.
That's smart. That is good business right there. It's always Sal's, but they're gonna find a way to
rebrand it. That's always my place to go before I leave town, man. Amazing. So, but before I get you out of here, in Seattle, if I find myself, or you know, a listener finds themselves dropped right in the middle of Seattle, what's one thing that they should know, and what's one good thing that you would say about Seattle?
It's a relaxed city. That's the great thing about it, and it's a city built into the woods, so you can go and hang out in nature and be near the city the whole time. So
wow.
You get yourself a cup of coffee, Top Pot donut as well. They had some great cake donuts there, and just hang out and just enjoy the nature. You don't, and because there's a thing that's called the Seattle freeze or whatever, or where people are like, no one wants to talk to me here. And you know what? For me, that's a benefit. Enjoy a beautiful city where no one will bother you.
So yeah, no one will bother you. But like, would you say people are generally friendly, or what?
People are generally people. I don't think there's any. I think it is what it is. I don't really like talking to strangers, so I have no idea what it's like to talk to a stranger. So
yeah, exactly. I think we find which made you all the more reluctant to be on this podcast. So thank you so much.
Well, we're technically comedy is a different form of things. Like, but if we were just hanging out personally one on one, neither of us, and you were in a comedian, I'd be like, what are we gonna do?
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, what I found is like, now this isn't some wild conclusion, but like in cities, a city is just a city. So I think what makes the way you're describing Seattle is like, it's cool because it's that metropolitan type of vibe. You'll get all sorts of people from all walks of life. And, you know, like other cities like Miami, like New York, it's not close to, you know, a beautiful hiking trail, you know? And you guys have the melting pot of people, of culture. You know, like who are all the type of people there? You mentioned like Vietnamese people. Is there like a town like we have in LA, like a Koreatown, Japantown, like Sawtell type of
they have like, there's a little Ethiopia, there's like a bunch, like it's not really like, the great thing is that the Asian food is sort of incorporated throughout the whole city, which is really beneficial. Like you can find good Vietnamese food in almost every neighborhood. You can find good Indian food in almost every neighborhood. So it's definitely mostly white. It is very white. It is.
Let's not get confused.
Good God, is it white? Seattle is 100% very white. But it's very it's very white, and they're a lot of them are very progressive. They just need something to be progressive at. But it's a very it's not like a discomforting sort of like you can still enjoy yourself and have a good time.
Nice. And growing up, do you have a hatred or disdain for Portland, or is that a rivalry that doesn't really exist?
It's a slightly whiter Seattle. I've never really
slightly whiter.
It's not that much of a difference in cities, and since it's not technically where I was born, I don't really I'm not trying to fight anyone about it.
It's there's Portland, like if you go into the Lowe's, it's got to be like a Portland eggshell white, and then Seattle, you know, college ruled notebook paper white.
Yes, exactly.
Like well, Solomon, Georgio, thank you so much for this audio tour of Seattle and for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Peter. This has been really fun. I appreciate it too.
Oh, thanks for saying that, man. And Floridians, thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.